FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen. Today we're taking a look at yet another fanfic that is too long for me to read in its entirety. Really? Really? You guys are gonna boo me? Get out of your system. Are you guys done? Look, come on guys. You are the ones who keep on requesting these fanfics that are way too long for me to read in their entirety. You want a good example? This fanfic right here. Not only is it over 10,000 words, you know what? I'm just going to give you the entire word count. Wow, this story has a whopping 114,881 words. And for your information, it's not even complete. That's another thing about you guys. You guys keep on requesting incomplete fanfics. I have said time and again, do not request incomplete fanfics, yet you guys keep on doing it anyway. But you know what? I might as well review this because it's too long for me to read in its entirety anyway, so we're only going to be getting the first chapter. So, let's not waste any time. The story is called Behind the Name by Dorica. It is a Shrek fanfiction. It's rated T, it's in English, it's drama suspense. The character in question in the story is Puss in Boots and it has a total of 180 reviews. Not counting if you guys end up watching this episode of FanFic Critic a year later, there's a good chance it's going to have more reviews at that point. So let's not waste any time and let's read the fanfic. Title, Behind the Name, author, Dory. I thought it was Dorica, whatever. Summary, after Puss receives a letter from home, Shrek and Donkey quickly learn more than they ever knew about their feline companion, rating T for language and violence. Disclaimer, Puss in Boots and all the other Shrek characters belong to DreamWorks Animation. Chapter 1, The Letter. Shrek curiously looked down at the infants snuggled together in their little cot, his face harboring a grin. His daughter looked up at him, her blue eyes full of curiosity as she reached her tiny arms out to him, cracking a wide smile of her own. Her brothers slept on peacefully, one of them with his thumb tucked securely in his mouth. Well, look who's awake. I know I'm mangling the voice, shut up. Shrek commented as he reached in to pick up the infant. He already had a waistcloth draped over his shoulder as a precaution, knowing all too well that spitting up was practically a guarantee, especially with an ogre baby. Shrek placed the baby against his protected shoulder and headed out of the bedroom, glad that that only one infant was awake at the moment. Just as he had a seat in his favorite recliner, the door opened and Fiona stepped inside, carrying the mail. "Oh, we got another letter from Mom," Fiona stated with a smile as she glanced over each envelope, disregarding most of them as junk. "Puss, you got mail too." The ogress yelled as she waved a crumpled tan-colored envelope in the air. The feline scampered into the room eagerly, snatching the envelope from his companion in a haste. You don't need the word a after the word haste. Just have it say in haste. "Gracias," he called over his shoulder as he disappeared again into the back room. Setting aside the rest of the mail, Fiona turned her attention to the envelope from her mother, sealed by the royal golden seal. "Hope there hasn't been a disaster with Artie," Shrek commented with a smirk as he bounced his giggling daughter on his knee. Fiona's smile grew as she read through the letter. "Sounds like everything's going just fine, Sir Doubt a Lot. Artie's had a rough start, but it sounds like he's getting the hang of things. And Mom's getting pretty anxious for us to visit. She's really wanting to see the kids again." It should say she really wants to see the kids again. It flows better. Grammar's your best friend, people. Shrek chuckled at this. "She thinks that, but I guarantee after spending enough time with them, she'll be hiding up in a tree until we leave." "Oh, come on, they aren't that much trouble." At that moment, the infant ogre leaned forward and regurgitated every last bit of her breakfast all over the floor. "Well, not always," Fiona stated with a sigh. "I'll get something to clean that up." As Fiona retreated to the kitchen, the front door burst open, revealing the smiling face of Donkey. "Speaking of trouble," Shrek mumbled, getting to his feet. "Oh, don't act like you ain't happy to see me, big guy. Donkey, do you have to come over every morning?" The ogre asked in annoyance as he grabbed a cloth to wipe his daughter's mouth. "Oh, shut up. I ain't over here every morning. I'm only over here, 4 days a week? Last I checked, there were 7 days in a week." The donkey replied smugly, "Donkey!" Shrek hissed, trying to keep from raising his voice out of fear of making his daughter cry as well as waking his sleeping sons. "So far, we've had a surprisingly peaceful morning, but you are going to ruin it right now." Donkey narrowed his eyes. "Well, you are just a ball of sunshine this morning, ain't ya?" "Don't pay any attention to him, Donkey," said Fiona as she walked past her friend, a wet rag in her hand to clean up the mess on the floor. "We'd have to worry if he didn't act like a grouch." Shrek rolled his eyes, but said nothing. "Well, I ain't staying long anyway. I'm just here for Puss. Me, Gingy, and Pinocchio are having a guy's day out. You probably do the usual. Go out to a tournament first, and then we'll head over to the theater to play for a play or two. I've been dying to get out and have some fun all week." Shrek managed to hold back a sigh of relief at hearing his friend say he was leaving. He jerked a thumb behind him. "I think he went back there," he said. Whistling Donkey walked past him to retrieve his feline friend. As he approached the partially opened curtains, Donkey opened his mouth to address the cat. "No," he heard a voice mutter with heavy amounts of despair. He quickly shut his mouth and quietly approached the curtains, highly curious now. Looking through the opening, he spotted the feline just a few feet away. His back turned to him. His ears were lowered slightly, and he appeared to be holding something, though Donkey couldn't make out what it was. Only when he heard the sound of paper crumpling did he realize that it must have been a letter. The cat became a blur as he dropped the letter and went for his things, throwing on his feathered hat and boots, not even bothering with his sword. Donkey chose that moment to step into the room. "What's up, amigo?" he greeted, acting as though he hadn't witnessed a thing. Puss muttered a quick hello, but nothing more. He ran past Donkey, keeping one paw on the rim of his hat as he went. "Wait, where are you going?" Donkey called to his friend as he turned and followed after him, though he received no response from the cat. He entered the living room just as Puss was opening the front door. "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Puss, where are you going in such a hurry?" asked Shrek. I just have something to take care of, senor. It's nothing." Noticing the cat was not looking him in the eye, the ogre's brows furrowed in concern. "What is it?" "I told you, it is nothing." But before the ogre could protest, Puss was already out the door and sprinting away, never once looking back. Shrek looked towards his wife, who appeared to be just as dumbfounded as he was. He next looked down at Donkey. "Donkey, did he say something to you?" Donkey shook his head. "But right before he ran out, I saw him reading a letter. I bet that'll give us our answer," he said as he nodded to Shrek to follow. The ogre handed his daughter off to Fiona and followed Donkey into the bedroom, finding the letter partially balled up on the floor. "I don't know, Donkey. If he wanted us to know, he would have told us." Donkey ignored his friend as he smoothed the letter out with his hooves, bending his head down to read it. Shrek watched him with growing anticipation, his concern mounting when he noticed Donkey's expression change drastically as he read on. "You should really read this," he said quietly, picking up the piece of paper between his teeth and handing it up to the ogre. He had to bring the tiny piece of paper extremely close to his face in order to read the even tinier words. "Hola, mi hermano. I'm sorry it's taken me a long time to write back, but you know how busy we keep. The money you sent us last month really helped us. Papa seems to be doing a lot better since his breakdown, but Victor and I are still pretty worried about him. He doesn't talk much these days, and now he barely eats, and I'm really sorry to say that this is the good news. I hope I would never have to deliver this message, but I'm afraid Mom has taken a turn for the worst. We thought she was doing better for a while, but I really think this is it. We don't know how long she has, but we think it's only a matter of days. I wish it was better news. I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut this letter short. I need to take care of my chores. We all wish you the best. Your brother, Benito." Shrek stared at the wrinkled letter for a long while in disbelief. He was actually being serious about that. I thought he was just saying that to get out of trouble, he said, reading over the letter again. "I know, same here. This whole time, he's been supporting his family and we didn't even know it. Well, I mean, he did technically tell us, but I don't know. We could have helped him." Shrek continued to stare at the letter in awe, though he was no longer actually reading the tiny smudged words that resided on the parchment. He eventually turned his attention to the trash bin. "What are you doing?" Donkey asked with raised brows with a raised brow as he watched the ogre walk over and shove his hand down into the bin. Looking for the envelope. Ah! Shrek pulled the slightly torn envelope from the bin, relieved to see that the return address was still legible. Yeah, edgeable. Stupid. That was me being stupid, not them. Come on, we're going after him, the ogre said sternly as he walked out of the room. Donkey quickly followed after him, looking rather surprised. You really think we should? Why not? It's clear he doesn't want us to be involved with his personal life. You're the one who's wanted to read the letter. What's going on? Fiona asked worriedly as her husband re-entered the living room. The larger ogre only sighed in response as he handed the letter to his wife to read. She took it in with a bit of confusion and hastily read over it. Oh no, she said after a few moments, her expression becoming remorseful. She looked up at her husband. Did you say you were going after him? Well, Shrek looked from his wife to Donkey, now beginning to question if it really was a good idea to go after the feline. I think you should, Fiona stated firmly. The male heaved another sigh. Well, we want to, but he needs his friends, even if he thinks he doesn't, Fiona urged. Donkey finally found himself agreeing, as did Shrek. Will you be okay with the kids? I'll be fine. Hopefully they'll keep sleeping for most of the day. If I'm lucky, Shrek smirked. I wouldn't bet on it. I really should tell Dragon where I'm going. Who knows how long we're going to be gone? Fiona smiled. Don't worry. If your family comes by, I'll be sure to tell them what's going on. I'm sure Dragon will understand. Donkey smiled. And if the guys come back looking for me, I'll tell them too. Shrek held up the envelope to look over the address again. Let's get going, Donkey. The ogre turned and planted a quick kiss on his wife's lips. I'll try to get back as soon as I can. Fiona followed the two males to the door, giving a short wave and a faint smile as they retreated from the swamp. Not long after they disappeared through the forest, there was a loud cry from the bedroom, forcing Fiona's shoulders to slump as a sigh escaped her. You have really bad timing, sweetie. I have to say, that was a pretty good first chapter. The layout was nice, very readable, unlike the last story I read. There wasn't any spelling mistakes at all, and yeah, there were a couple of grammatical errors, but not enough to ruin the flow of the story. Overall, this was a very good chapter. And it looks like the author... Holy shit, that is long! Well, I was going to read the author's note, but as you guys can see, it's kind of long. Yeah. Anyway, guys, if you want to read the rest of the story for yourselves, the link is in the description below. I highly recommend you check it out. Well, I'm the FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen, and I'm going to go watch Shrek.